Okay, let's start the streaming right now. Okay. All right. We're still 5 minutes away from starting. Don't worry. You can get cookies and coffee over there. Hello. Morning. If you're a student, do the GitHub account with your KAUST email, your university email. Why? Yes, there is a benefit to that. There is a thing called GitHub Copilot that, in theory, if I am correct and not, if I'm up to date, is free for students of universities. Thus, use your university account. Unless you want to pay. I don't know. Yes. The login page for GitHub. Yeah. As a matter of fact, once you launch the class hub or the binder, it should have the scripts that we're going to use today. And it should have everything already installed. Hi. That one is the next workshop. The data science onboarding is the next one. Yes. No, you have to go into the introduction to Python website. Yeah. You went to the next workshop. Yeah. Okay. Oh, da. Okay. Any question about the setup before we start? Where can you find the website for all the instructions? Okay. That one is this webpage here, wiki.biz.kaus.edu.sa. Okay. That's our web page. There is on your left side a training events link. And then in the training events link, you go into Introduction to Python workshop. Okay. Excellent. Jupyter Hub. Okay. You need Python, and you probably just need the script that we're going to use to download the data, and that's it. If you have local Python, that's enough. Well, and Jupyter You can deploy a Jupyter notebook or a Jupyter lab. All right, let's get this started. Well, Ahlan Masaklan, welcome to this workshop for Python. It's an introductory workshop, so I don't expect you to know how to compute anything or to write code. But if you do, that's great. So help me out with your other colleagues over here. Well, so my name is Didier Barradas Bautista. I am part of the KBL team that you have here. We have several expertise. One of those is data science with me and Dr. Raful Halimi. He will be in charge of the machine learning introductory course and the deep learning introductory course. Then we have, for example, our BR specialist, which is Dr. Ronald Barrera-Sicat. And for example, Dr. James Kress, he's in charge of this room. You have seen how nice it is set up. It's because of his work. And we have Thomas, which is like a wizard for, we have it for visualization, big data into the supercomputers. Okay, so as I was saying, if you haven't checked our website, here is the URL, wiki.biz.kau.edu.sa. In there, on your left, you can go to Trainings tab, then click on the Trainings tab. Then you can go into Introduction to Python workshop, okay? And it will deploy the website where you could either register or find also the links to the materials, okay? Now, okay, let's start with this thing. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know who Li Yufan is? Okay, maybe you know it by the name of Bruce Lee, right? So Bruce Lee, as a child that grew up in the 90s, is one of my heroes, right? Why? Because he was an actor. But more than that, he was actually also a philosopher and has very proactive into creating a way to knock somebody out very quickly, very efficiently. So the word efficient for him was the keyword. How do I battle somebody in a fist roll and I kept winning, but I do it fast? So he came to the idea, or the first idea, to let's do a mixed martial art that he named Jeet Kune Do. So regardless of that, what I want to say is like he was trying to find a way to be more efficient. So why do you want to learn Python? Python is like a Swiss knife. It can do everything, but it also is a very high productivity language, they call it. Somebody call it like that. Now, why is call it like that? Because if you know English, pretty much you can write Python scripts. Now, one of the things that people actually say is like, okay, this is a high-level interpreter language. What does that mean? That means that it's a basic shell between you and your computer that is going to translate your English words into computer things, in the language of the computer, binary. And well, it has been very popular because since its inception, it has been widespread because it's easy, it's hackable, meaning that you can do any tool out of it. And so far in the world, it has dominated machine learning and deep learning because it can handle a lot of big data. And well, it's easy to install, quotes and quotes, because now everybody that has taken the workshop of Anaconda that I did last Sunday have it in their computer, okay? It was created by Guido van Rossum not so long ago. Well, for some of you, this is your whole life, in 1991. He's still active. He's still there. You can still meet the creator of Python. And I know people that has met Guido, all right? And the name, surprisingly enough, for many people, which, by the way, French people is not Python, it's Python, right? So it comes from the name of the British sketch comedy Monty Python's Flying Circus, which, if you haven't seen a movie, I recommend Life of Brian because it's hilarious and it actually has contained some things that are still going on today. You will be surprised that they have this vision. So have a laugh and check this out. Okay. So, like I said, the thing with Python is like it's a Swiss knife, and it's been widespread. So you can check any popular GUI or graphic user interface, and you can install Python on it. I put 3 examples here: VS Code, PyCharm, and Eclipse. Has any of you have heard about VS Code lately? No. Okay. So VS Code, 1. Great. So VS Code is a Microsoft product. As a matter of fact, it's the first time I say, wow, Microsoft is doing cool stuff. So VS Code is a GUI that allows you to do code for several languages. It's very convenient. It has a lot of different modules that you can load, you can use. Then you have PyCharm, which is very focused on Python. It's very popular too. I never understood that one. And there is Eclipse. Eclipse was, especially for Java developers, a tool that was fantastic. It also runs Python. But okay, so it's very easy to install or to find a way to install it in your computer. But the most important part is, like, for data science, it has all the packages that you need. Even for your probably for your field of study, it is genomics, chemistry, EELs, or whatever you want, there is a package for it. Why? Because there was, or there is, a community of scientists developing their packages for you to use to make your life, in theory, easy. All right? So, how do I learn Python? Well, you can come, disclaimer, you can come to this workshop and it's only 4 hours. I cannot make you learn Python in 4 hours. Not even if you are a genius, you can learn Python in 4 hours. Maybe if you are like a supercomputer, maybe. But why I'm saying this? Because you have to spend, in my experience, in average 6 months looking at the code, writing code, being involved in how to use Python to really learn Python. I will give you some pointers. For example, we have here a tutorial written by somebody from our own university, right? This guy, Konstantin, is really good at Python. And we can check his website. This is from last year. He kept it alive. Now there's a new 2004 version, 24 version, sorry. Or you can go directly to the source, the Python tutorial. There is something called the official Python tutorial. And it's a lot of reading and a lot of mumbo jumbo that probably you will need the glossario that I gave you in the shell course, because it has a lot of words that is like, what is this meaning? Okay, so we're going to try to make basics here so you can kind of abort these other tutorials with more confidence, and then you can really write Python code, like high-level Python code. This is why we have, for example, the material from the carpentries, which I find very useful. I use them for all these workshops. The people that have been in the shell and in the conda, they know that I use this. Because it's well explained, it has been taken care for many people to make it as clear as possible and as accessible as possible. And it also has the way how you set up your computers with your programs, with your own Python or whatever you're going to do. Okay? So thanks to the carpentries. Now the web page. Like I was saying, if you go to our web page, our wiki, you find this web page, and then you have the workshop materials. These slides are going to be there. I don't know if you're going to need them, but please go into the Etherpad. Every time I teach, I use an Etherpad. You can see right now I'm alone, so I cannot communicate with you at the moment, but you can write stuff in the Etherpad. If you're shy and you don't want to put your name, you can be anonymous, okay? If you have a question and you're all, oh my God, is this question too dumb? I don't want to, you can write anonymously there, okay? There is no dumb questions. I actually changed my name. I put myself Bruce Lee, all right? So you can do that. You can be Capitan Ahab, Master Roshi, whatever you want. So the other thing that I want to point out is that you have your workshop materials over here. For those of you that didn't have the time to read this part or don't have the access to the Class Hub, there's a public binder here. Go to that link. Okay, for people in KAUST that were able to access KAUST and have a GitHub, you have to use this link over here to validate your GitHub account, and then you can click here. If you are in this page, do it right now, please, because it takes time to load. Okay, it's going to take its time to deploy. Unless you have your local setup. By the way, the link for a local setup is here. It will explain how to do it. If you have Conda installed in your computer, you already have Python, so that's an advantage. Okay. So far, so good. All right. Should I move or should I wait for you a little bit? Raise your hand. A little bit. Okay. Okay. So once you launch the Jupyter, the Class Hub, or the public binder, that's fine. If you want to use the Jupyter Hub, you have to talk to IT because they have to enable your user. Okay. Well, we know that IT is very busy these days. Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's okay. I will check it out in a moment. Okay, because yeah. By the way, so now where we're talking about also coding, you can use any assistant of this. You know it already. There is ChatGPT, there is Google, which is basically the programmer's layers, right? These are big large language models that can do pretty much everything that we want, if you know how to tell it to do what we want. So as a matter of fact, the precursor for ChatGPT was GitHub Copilot. So what Microsoft did was to buy GitHub, then train a large language model in all the code from GitHub, and came out with this large language model called GitHub Copilot, and start charging for that. But then they went into a battle with Google, and Google has Gemini, which also has a lot of code and a lot of information because they are Google. Okay, so you can start one of these to your side. In any case, if you have any question, pretty much you can ask first these guys, and then you can ask me. Okay, so like I was saying, are you trying to start one of these? You're still on the process? Can you see the website trying to deploy the Class Hub or the Binder Hub? More or less? Okay. So for those of you that have the Anaconda Navigator, please use the Jupyter Lab. Many people is trying to use, for example, at the first time, the Jupyter Notebook. This one is the original one, the original gangster, but we want the steroid version, which is Jupyter Lab. All right? Now, if you are going to use Jupyter Lab, it will look like this. Also, the Class Hub is going to look like this. All right? Even the KBL binder site that I put there is going to look like this. So we're going to use two parts. The Python notebook that is going to deploy here, and we're going to use a terminal. Okay, so click in both sides. You can do it, and we will deploy. If you don't know how, let me show you. By the way, an outside. So The Jupyter notebook is something that changed a lot for many people around the world because it's a very educational resource. It's very easy to use. And it has a file ending of IPyMB, which is for interactive Python notebooks. And it really, really works as a notebook because you can write stuff there and you can share it with another person and they will read the same thing and they will see the same result. Usually when you can even make it a PDF or you can even share it as an HTML file. So that said, we're going to honor this tradition in the command line, okay? So if you were able to deploy a terminal, please type this. If you're not there yet in the terminal, raise your hand. You're not, okay, I will wait. So in that regard, then I will go here. Now, like I said, you click here in Class Hub. If you go to this part here, click in Begin Course, and that one will trigger the Class Hub. Okay. After a while, it will show something like this. Now, here I have the Etherpad, like I was telling you. So in the Etherpad, we already have written some stuff here, like where is the glossario, where is the binder. This binder specifically is for KAUST, this one here. So let me blow this up. Okay. Can everybody see the font? A little bit more. There you go. So this link here are in the Etherpad. You can find them there. So you can join here. As I said, I put myself Master Roshi. I can change it to Bruce. Why not? Okay, there is a chat there, and there is a lot of notes that we have been doing over the past workshops. And now we're going to start the notes about Python. So I promised you that we were going to explore Konstantin's GitHub. You can see here that he has updated this not so long ago. And it has a lot of different subjects that you can read about. This is very advanced. This is very good for you also. All right. Thank you, Konstantin. Now, in the binder that I gave you, you have to click here in the binder. So let's go over here. I will use this guy. If you go here, you click here in Launch Binder, and it will start something like this, okay? Once it's done, it will look like this. There you go. You see? Okay. It's still loading for you. You are here at KAUST, right? Can you use this one here? It's in the Etherpad. It's right there after the binder. I'm going to close this one because if not, it's going to crowd too much people. The last resource is to use this one, the one that says /public. Okay. So once you are there, we can click here in terminal, and it opens a terminal. The beautiful part about this resource is that you can reorder the thing as you want. We open here, for example, this is a Jupyter notebook, but then we can have a terminal side to side to a notebook. And you can open another terminal if you want, or a text file, and you can reorder it here. Okay? This is why this one is powerful. You can put all the types that you want in one part or in another. a new terminal. You click here in plus, you go all the way here, down. You can open as many as you want. There is the launcher, okay? Okay. So this is to make you aware of this thing because this is what you're going to use in the machine learning workshop. It's the same thing. Right? So in this case, is everybody with a terminal? Or is it still loading? The binder is still the one that for you that you're not in KAUST? Yeah. There. Yes. You cannot connect to the binder. Are you in the iCampus Wi-Fi? Or maybe, okay. So, do you have a GitHub account? Yes? Okay, so what happened there is very simple. You have to go on the web page. It doesn't work like that. So over here, after you create the GitHub account, get access here. Clicking this, give your GitHub account there, and then launch again the class hub. Refresh and launch again the class hub. How do you get there? Which ID? The GitHub account? You put it here, and then you put your GitHub ID. In my case, for my GitHub, is this one? Yeah, sorry. As a matter of fact, you can see my fat face here in my profile. This one is the one that I want. All right, that's the one that goes here. You submit the form. Yeah, over here, your user from GitHub. Right? Then you put it here, submit the form, wait a bit, then reload. I put it over here. So this name goes here. You can see it on the top here also. You're still trapped then. Okay, so go to the Etherpad and please try this link. Okay. The Etherpad is also there here. You have the Etherpad over here. You click here, you join. And then you try this one here. Hopefully it's not overcrowded. Okay, for those of you that already have a terminal, raise your hand. Okay. Then for those of you, I want you to go here into the terminal and do Python -c import import this and then hit enter. Okay, so yeah, Python -c double quotes import this double quotes. All right, hit enter. What does it say? Many things, many lines. Okay, read those lines. Yes, welcome to the Zen of Python. Okay, this is the rules that you have to follow in Python. It's very simple. It's like the Bible of the Quran, but for Python, and it's just a couple of lines. So, as you can see, the Zen of Python means that beautiful is better than ugly, explicit is better than implicit, simple is better than complex. Do you agree with that? Do you like what is beautiful? What is simple? Yeah, I do. Complex is better than complicated. Yes, complicated is way, way, way advanced problem, right? So flat is better than nested. That's a computer term, right? So try not to nest stuff. You will understand that later. A special case, readability counts. Yes, think about yourself in the future. When you're writing something, like the notes in your lab, write it for you in the future. Like future me, I don't know what I was doing. That day I was very, very, very occupied or something like that. Make that very explicit. Okay. Special cases aren't that special enough to break the rules. Yes. Usually try to go rule by rule, but special cases are probably not that special. Although practicality beats purity, error should never pass silently, unless explicitly silenced. We will come to that. Like sometimes you write something and an error is just telling you, hey, you put a capital E instead of a lower E, and it's totally fine as an error, but it bugs me because it's a different thing. Okay, in the face of ambiguity, refuse the temptation to guess. Never guess. That's a principle in life. Be sure, especially in science. Do not guess, do not assume. Verify, right? Everybody in the university should do that. There should be, in the face of, there should be one and preferably only one obvious way to do it, although that way might not be obvious first unless you're Dutch. I do not understand that line. So if you're European and you're Dutch, please tell me what does that mean, because I do not understand that line. So now is better than never, although never is often better than right now. That's because if you have too many meetings, you will understand this. Like, work now, meet later, but let's meet right now. Sometimes depends on the situation. So if the implementation is hard to explain, it's a bad idea. If the implementation is easy to explain, it might be a good idea. Namespaces are one hunting great idea. Let's do more of those. That's basically the Python Zen, meaning that this is the way you have to code. Right? That's how, in theory, Python should work. Okay. Now, let's clear this for the moment. And I actually going to export PS1. Okay, let's do this one. Clear again. And now let's do Python -c -- print. The -c is an option to take the command line input. Okay. So in this case, hello world. Yep. And press enter. What happens there? What is showing in your terminal? Hello world, right? So this is a way to use Python, and this is the way I learned how to use Python. And as you can see, it's kind of painful because it's in the terminal. It's not that easy, right? But then somebody came with the idea of Jupyter notebooks. So a Jupyter notebook is a different kind of animal, which I like, as a matter of fact. So now you have things here that looks more like a ready-to-use thing, right? In this case, if we just do, this is already running Python. If we just do print, let's use like this, hello world. you can either press here to run this cell, or you can do Shift Enter, and it prints "Hello World." Okay. The beautiful thing about this is that you can actually modify this several times over, and it will just run. And if you have some code that you are actually interested in a section, this is the tool that you want to use, just to make very small changes in a very small part of your code. Okay. But it also gives you control about how many times have you run this thing. Like, this is the second time I run it, the third time I run it. And like, okay, so you have an idea what was run last. Another thing that you can do is actually call command line stuff. Like, for those that you were in shell, if you put !ls or echo something, it will automatically display the option for the shell. Okay, let's do another one. Like, for example, ls CPU. Okay, so ls CPU gives me the architecture, and I have it here. Looking at it, it's like, okay, this is the thing that you are running. We have an AMD EPYC core processor. That's nice. Thank you, Hassan Al-Khrani. And, this is basically a shell thing. Yes? When you put ! yours is not recognized. As an external command. Same there. What are you running? Locally, or you're running in the KBL binder server? Local. Okay, then what are you using? Windows? So that's the problem. This is Linux. You're using Windows? Yes. So you two have a hard way to enter data science. Like, if you want to do data science, switch to Linux. Now, well, that's my opinion. But the thing is, like, these will not work for Windows people. Why? Because these are Linux commands. Okay? So for you, I don't think this will work ever. Unless, and that was the killer thing that actually made Windows again cool, you install a kernel that is going to allow you to use Linux inside Windows. And that's, yeah, that's as a matter of fact, you can try to relearn all these things, which is DOS. If you're old enough, you know what is that, but you don't look that old. So Linux and DOS. Yeah, we're around the same. So the thing is, like, for the operational system of Windows, they have a series of different commands that you have to learn. So these ones are very specific for Linux. So whatever I wrote here with ! it will not work unless you install Linux inside Windows. That can be done. And that's called WSL, Windows something Linux. That's the killer app that make Windows again important in data science. Or you can install a virtual machine and basically cook your memory. Yes. Okay, so far everybody has reached this part. LS CPU doesn't work on Mac. That's okay. It also, Mac doesn't have all the options from Linux, but you can try another one. LS does work, right? LS. Okay, excellent. Use the exclamation point to make it clear that it's the terminal. Yes. You cannot open the Jupyter notebook yet? You're still stuck? So you mean, like, if you go to here, you click here and it doesn't deploy? That's odd. What are you running? Are you in the KBL server binder or? You are using the Jupyter Hub? All right. So I didn't know that one. It's Linux. It should, as a matter of fact, if you're using the Jupyter Hub, it should deploy. Hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah. Go. This one is showing you invalid response. Okay, try this one then. The one before. Try that one. Okay. Everybody pretty much reached this part of going to the Jupyter notebook. Sorry. Yes. You're still stuck? No way. Dang. We ran out of stuff. So did you try with the class hub again? Is it still stuck there? Yeah, it's still working, trying to work there. But it's error. It doesn't deploy. Damn. Okay. I ran out of ideas then because I have these two binder hubs here, the class hub and the Jupyter hub as a backup. Do you have, by any chance, installed Anaconda in your computer? Because the last resort is that if you have the Anaconda Navigator, you can actually deploy a Jupyter lab locally. Do you have the Anaconda Navigator in your computer? You do? Okay, it opened. All right, good. Okay, for you, what's your name, by the way? Sorry. Marwa. So for you, the choice would be then go locally. Can you install the Anaconda Navigator in your computer? All right. By the way, for those of you that want to eliminate this, this is the trash can, so you can just erase it, and everything goes back to normal. All right? There you go. What is the difference between Jupyter and Jupyter Lab? Okay, so at the beginning of time, the first prototype for Jupyter Lab, or I should say the first prototype was Jupyter notebooks. Like right out of the blue, you have basically this all the way over here. Jupyter Lab makes it more like a environment where you can code and control a lot of stuff. The other part is like you can put more widgets over this side. In this part here, for example, you can install things that you might need from somebody else. So you can put there another stuff. We see this in the data science onboarding with the MB dashboard that allows you to monitor the GPUs. And also, you can start giving them some kind of formatting, which is nice to have. And obviously, this part here is the most important one. It lets you know where, it lets you see all the files that you have and to control them and actually to double click them and watch them from inside. This was not possible with just the Jupyter notebook. Jupyter Lab is literally more broad and better to do that. Okay, so one of the things that I want to do for those of you that you already did that and you're over here. Now, let's see where I am, by the way, because I'm never in the same place. Okay. If you are here already seeing some, not these are all my files from the previous workshops. If you are here, please check data, get data -- Python. So let's do Control R or yes, that's better. Yeah, but for example, what I want you to do is to do bash Python get data like that. Hit enter to those that have already the terminal. So you download the data that we're going to use. Okay? Yes. Okay, how can I get it if I am there? If you go to this, any of the two websites that I put here in the other path, the same is here. Get data Python, you can copy this. This one is the same as this one. Okay? It's the same bash script. It's there. So copy paste this into your local machine and run bash get data-python.sh and it will download the material for you. Let's put it also in the other path for you to find. Here, after Python. A script to get data. Okay? So once you run that, it should create a folder called swpython. And it should have the code and the data over there. Yep. Yes. You're running Linux or you're running Mac? Okay, in theory it should work. You're using ZSH? You're using the Mac, the latest version of the terminal, right? It looks different than this one. Kind of the same, but not the same. Yes. So what you can do is, if I recall, is /bin/bash, something like that. Okay, so we're able to download the data? No. Windows, you too? Dang. Okay. Okay. So in that regard, for those Windows lovers, if you go here, go into this link, go into Python Novice, okay? In the website, there is Python Novice. This link will get you here. This is the carpentries. Here is the data. Okay? Again, if you go to our web page where I put everything for you, you click here in Python Novice, it will lead you to this page, and over here you have the data, the Gapminder's data. Yeah, you can do that. Because they are working locally, they can download the thing. Yes? All right? Yes, tell me. I cannot hear. You have a problem trying to get the... This is because you came after what I explained. Do you have a GitHub account? All right. So go to the web page. And then here, if you click here where it said after create the GitHub account, get access here, it will deploy this, and then you put your GitHub user here. and submit. Wait a little bit, and then try with the class hub again. All right? So everybody had the data? Yes. Okay, no problem. Go to the Etherpad, and you can use one of these binder hubs. It will let you go to here with this. It will go to this repository here, go all the way down, and click here, launch binder. Here, Etherpad is here. All right. For all of you, did you get the data from the website or through the thingy? You're downloading? Okay. You're downloading? All right. Shouldn't be that super heavy, but you should have something like this data here. Not all the data. Yeah. Okay. So if I go and do terminal, remove -r. It is SW Python. So in a normal circumstance, when you have everybody has a class hub, you do bash get data Python sh. It will show something like this. Okay. And then if you do ls data, swc Python data. Okay, you have everything. Gapminder over there. You can see it here also. You can go to data. Close this one. You have Gapminder, inflammation, which is for two different lessons in Python. We're going to use the Gapminder one. And you can check it here. Now, this is another thing that you cannot do in the Jupyter Notebook. Just Jupyter Notebook. You can actually see data tabulated in your computer right away, like this. You see that you have columns and rows like this for the GDP of different countries in Africa. Nice. Now, if I am here, I deploy one more time my Python. Okay. So everybody is with their data. So far, so good. You're still downloading. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, my script downloads different files because it's for two different lessons of Python. The one that you're downloading should be the GDPs only. Okay, so if you have only the GDPs, that's enough for this lesson. Okay, so you go to the website. You go to... for the bash. So in that case, yes. You have now you put your data wherever you want to find it with the Jupyter. Okay, as long as you know the path, it's okay. Yes. Okay. It's still loading? You're not getting there. That's awful. Can you install the Anaconda Navigator then? Do you have admin rights in your computer? No. Okay. We will get to that eventually then. Right. So if you cannot access to Class Hub because you don't have a GitHub account and you cannot use the KBL server, binder server, that's odd. But anyway, we will No, I mean, I'm still in the class. We can do it on the break. All right? Okay. So for those of you that already have the data, is how do we download the data? Using Bash or using just using what? Okay, so if you're in the Binder hub or if you're in Binder, you just go and do uh, clear. Give me a second. I think I will completely clear this. So first of all, in the terminal, do an ls. Check that you have this file there. And then you do bash get data dash Python sh. That's for all the Linux. For you, for Windows lovers, you have to put that into a folder. And then you can actually go into the Jupyter notebook and then open over there with a new launcher and try to get it. Right? Your path, you have to search for the folder where you are working. No, you just have to know where are your files. All right? So I have to make sure that everybody has their data. Fine? Okay. Now let's go for a break so everybody can breathe out and I can sort out what's going on with the people that is missing. Okay? Let's have a break, guys. right? Now you want to go back, you can click here in SWD.
Yes.
All right. So, okay. By the way, those of you that have some idea, now this one is a file navigator too. Okay. If you click here, it will take you to that folder. If you click back, it will take you to another folder. So this is a way to navigate the files. Okay. So one more. So if you go inside of Hugh Jackman or just Jackman, you're inside of this folder. You can go even inside of this folder. If you want to go back, you can click just where you want to go back in this part here. If you want to not see this part, you click and it appears again. Okay? It's a way to navigate. All right. Hello.
I uploaded the data, but I don't think I'm getting the same things you.
Okay. So let me show you. Very, very easy. I guess it's the same, right? So first thing that I want you to do is do an ls, and it will list the things that you are seeing here, right? Now, you already have this here. You have the same file, right?
Okay.
Get, don't worry. All right. Just now you do bash get data dash Python, and it will download the data for you. Okay? Yes, like this. There you go. And then, yeah, that's it. It will appear here now as you can refresh it with this button. Come on. It's thinking. So this button here, it should refresh what you see here, and it should put it safely over there. It is showing here.
I have it. It's just not.
Yeah, it's not refreshed for some reason. You have it. I don't know why. But it's there. Yeah, that one. Yeah, it should show here, just like that. But, curiously enough, in yours it's not showing. So let's do an ls here. Oops. Exclamation mark ls. No, don't. What? Don't select kernel. Okay, do this here. Discard. You have here the for some reason it doesn't want to show it to you. Great.
What?
It disconnected for you. Yeah, you try to connect. Do you have a GitHub account by any chance?
Yes, I do.
Okay, try the class hub. And yeah, in the website you can find the class hub, and you just have to validate your user on. Yeah. Okay, not that one. Go to the web page, and then here class hub. Go down, and then begin course. Sign up with. And it will deploy something similar. The only trick is that you have to enter now to another folder. Okay, you do an ls, then you do cd. Your colleague over there did the same thing. Okay. All right. Well, all right. So after I think everybody has the data, at least as a part of the data, you were able to upload it. I saw somebody uploading the files. Now we're going to start using the Jupyter notebook. Okay, in the Jupyter notebook, I already showed you very easily. Print, right? Print is a hard-coded function that pretty much every language has. To print stuff, you just have to put double quotes, and then you print your name, for example. Okay. Now, print also is very, very good to do stuff like this. Print, let's say, go back, an asterisk 10 times. Okay. Print is very powerful and very flexible. Like you can do this kind of notation and it will print 10 stars. Okay. Go ahead, try it. Play with it. Don't use a star. Do I don't know, another dash. And it doesn't have to be print 10. It could be print, I don't know, 100. Okay. Now, another function of print is that you can do stuff very easily, like printing two things together. Like print, and then asterisk times 10, and then asterisk. Let's put this dash here. Okay? So if you use print, you can use comma, and it will print whatever you want after that comma. Right? Try it. Very easy. A new command in the sense of a new cell. These are called cells. So you can add it with this plus sign here, and you can add as much as you want. And if you don't like them, you just trash them. You can move them, as a matter of fact, up or down with these arrows. It depends on you. So this is another thing that you could not use only with the notebook. You can move the cells up and down. Yes, the new cell is over here. Like, shortcut in the keyboard. I don't know. There should be one, yes. But I'm not sure. I don't know it. As a matter of fact, yeah, I don't know it. There should be. Okay, there you have it. Press B. All right. So now let's start dabbling in something that is very basic. What is a variable? So is everybody aware of what a variable is? I mean, we all pass math, apparently. So a variable could be something like x equals, I don't know, 10. Now, Python has a very dynamic way of how to assign values to a variable. Because you can say, comma 11, and this will automatically assign 10 to x and 11 to y. Okay? It's very simple. Sometimes could be very confusing. If we actually hit Shift Enter here, takes its time apparently. Oops, I think I disconnected. No, it shouldn't show, but it's taking too long. This star here means that it's computing for some reason that I do not understand. Am I alive? Yes. I am alive. So if I press X here, for some reason it's stuck there, but now it's compute, right? So if I write here just X and press Enter, it will just deploy the value of X here. If I press Y, it will show me that value. Now, how do I print it? Print X, Y, and there you have it. Now you can do print, you can do combinations. Yes. No problem. Yes. Okay. So the link between the terminal and this thing is how do I explain it in layman terms? So everything in Linux runs actually in the background in a terminal. The terminal connects you with the computer. So this one is a level up of abstraction that it allows even more dynamic influence of you over the computer. So what the Python notebook is doing is actually talking to the terminal and saying like, hey, I have this web application over here, run this in the terminal, and the terminal says to the computer, hey, we need a variable called x that is equals to 10. So it's different levels in that sense. No, you don't need the terminal at this moment. When you have the Jupyter lab, you can use only Jupyter notebooks. I use the terminal because I did the shell workshop, and people that were here in the shell workshop understand like the terminal can be also to programming stuff. But it's a more direct way to talk to the computer. So in this case, I'm just using it to check stuff and to download the data, which is pretty easy. So in this, that's okay. If you come to the part where you use the Jupyter notebook, you don't need the terminal anymore, in theory, inshallah. So, okay, now combinations. Also, print is very flexible, like I said. We can do actually some operations like this. Oh, yeah, +5. And we can do even more additions or subtractions. Okay, you can do these basic commands inside of print. There is no problem. And as long as you do this with a comma next to it, it will deploy whatever is taking. All right, the comma separates the commands. So one thing that I want you to notice, there is already two types of things that we have written here. One variable that is a number and one variable that is a string, what people call strings. Is this font better? Yep, okay. So right now, these are characters. These are numbers. What will happen if I try to subtract 5 from a character? For example, let's do something like this. Single quotes. This -5. What will happen? An error, right? Because it's just telling me like, dude, you're trying to go for extract something that is a character and you're using an integer. That makes no sense. That is what it's telling me here. It's a type of error. So far, if you do type and you do, for example, 5, it returns this notation here, which means integer. What about fractions? That, let's say 5.5. It changed to float. And if I do the same for a notation like this, it's a string. Now, right there, you have the three main players in all computing basics. The strings, which are characters, the integers, that are normal numbers, and the floating. The floating numbers are those ones that actually have decimals. They're fractions of numbers. There is also those ones that are imaginary numbers. Python has a code for that, so you can get them. It's all the same. Now, each of these types of variables, or let's say these types of things, have something attached to them, which are called methods. But before that, let's start by assigning. Let's do something like name. I want you to write your name like this. Great question. Does it matter if I use single quotes or double quotes? To Python, it doesn't matter. But if you're running a program in Python in the terminal, it will matter a lot. So when you're trying to run deep learning stuff in a supercomputer cluster, it will matter a lot. The rule is that to Python is the same. You can use double quotes or single quotes. Just stick to one. If you're using from the beginning to the end single quotes, only single quotes. Don't mix them. Okay? So let's go for last name equals, and then age equals 32. Okay, now if I press Shift Enter, it gets stuck for some reason there, but if I do name, I get Bruce. Okay. Now, if I do this, print name, what's the difference about? In the Jupyter notebook, you mean, or in the terminal? So if you're using the terminal is just for that. Okay, so while you're using a terminal, what is happening is that it's not using the memory that this thing has. Okay, the memory for the Jupyter notebook is allocating these variables somewhere else. When you use in the terminal, once you use the variable, that gets destroyed, right? And here we are actually assigning things to name, last name, and age. And I can print them. And apparently it's going to take a while. But on the same note, what if I want to do something more beautiful? What if I want to do a formatting thing, right? So print has something that is very powerful also, that if you enable F and do the quotes, this one will tell print to enter to a formatting version. So I can write stuff like my name is, and then curly brackets, name, comma, my last name is last name, comma, my age is age, and I live in Hong Kong. Okay, so the format, the F here at the beginning, it prompts the print to say, I'm going to take variables and I'm going to give a format. So the F is going to basically tell the the Python interpreter, I'm going to give you a string. Inside of the string, there are going to be any variable. All right. So if I want to change this to another thing, like master Roshi 88, and again I run this code, my name is master, my last name is Roshi, my age is 88, and I live in Hong Kong. What happened here is like, now that I run this cell here, and I run this cell next, it's going to print whatever is assigned to that variable. Okay? So far, so good? Okay. Now, one more thing that is important to understand from this, and this is a tricky one, is that the variables, especially the strings, have an index attached to them. So I want you to go for name and just do name square brackets 0 and hit enter. What happens? One error? You get error. Yeah, it's the first letter. So if you do, yes, a word is a string of letters. And Python start counting like the first letter, the index is 0. That is different in different languages. Like, for example, in R, it starts with 1, like a normal person would do. But then in Python, everything starts from 0 to 9 to 99, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So if you do name square brackets 0, it will print the first character of that word. If you do print -1, it will print the last character. Okay? So in this case, name for M, it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if you go in reverse, it starts -1 in R, -2, -3, blah, 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 blah. All right? Sorry? You have to use the square brackets, yes. Yeah, yes, exactly. To access the index of the strings, you have to use the square brackets. If you use another kind of brackets, it will not work. Because you're not telling Python, I am accessing the index of that character. Yes. Yes. Yeah, when you use print and you put F letter, you use then single quotes. When you want to convey a very clear message. Because, for example, I can do print name H, and that's it. But if you really want somebody to read like F, quote, and then we go hello, my name is name, and I am H. This is different than this because your ultimate object probably is to just print a message that is clear for you or for somebody else. Okay, so the format comes into different flavors. When you're using more advanced programs, you probably want to know what is this. And probably you also want to convey the message better. I mean, in this case, we also could do with the indexing is different H. Whoa. Print H, then print H square brackets 0. The object is not square. Okay. Don't fail me now. What happened to H? Ah, yeah. What happened to H is because the type of H is an integer. So I cannot do the same indexing. I can do indexing with the strings. Okay, so now there is another trick. Maybe you don't want the whole string, right? Maybe you don't want name completely. Maybe you just want the first two letters for some reason. Like you want only the first two. Then you can do name, and you told Python, like, I want index 0 until index 2, and it will actually be very tricky, okay? Because to return the two first letters, it will go like, okay, so I will give you index 0, index 1, but not index 2. That's something that has bugged me a lot with Python, because this here, my friends, is called slicing. Slicing. So how do I read this? If I want the first two letters of a string, I have to tell, like, I want index 0 and index 1, and I have to include the next index, because it goes 1, 2. Here is the result. I know, terrible, but that is the way it is. Like, if I want from 2 and onwards, I just leave this out. Like this. So this notation, for example, it says like, after index 2, give me everything else. The same way can be, or put something like this. Okay. So give me back everything until you reach index 2. Or before index 2, give me everything. So this word slicing is very comfortable if you need like just a couple of letters of the very first letter of each line. You can get it back in this way. Right? Perfect. So far, can you print stuff? Excellent. So, okay, one question. If you do this, print type 3.14, what do you get? A float. Yeah. You see? It tells you class float. So whenever you are in doubt about what in the hell is one of the variables there in a code, you can do this kind of things, these kind of tricks. Print is the best debugging tool that you will find in any different programming languages. All right? Good. We're on track. So let's go to the other path. Now, here in the other path, I have written something. Okay? I want you to run these commands. Okay, go to the other path and get this, and then put each of them in one cell. Right? Once again, go to the other path, it's all the way down. There is this thing, string equals hello world. And then copy paste all of these. Each of these prints, I want you to put in one cell. The other path, this is the other path. Yes, these commands. Where they are? If you go here and you click here, in the ether path, you go all the way down. Yep. Yes. 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 You have to start from my string equals hello world. This is the starting point. Each command at once, yes. You can put them all in one cell. That's fine, if you want. Now, what I want is basically to put everything in one cell just to highlight what each of them is doing. But you can do it in one cell if you want. You're done. Okay, so do I recommend Jupyter Notebook to deploy an app? That's now a standard thing to do. The thing is, like, Jupyter Notebooks are very good to do prototyping. Do you know that saying that is like fail a lot and fail fast? This is a way to do it. And the beautiful part is like you can focus in one part that is not working. But after that, clean your code, make it nice and document. Yes, over there. What? What is the string or what is a string? What is a string? Okay. In computer language, basically is words, how we write. So a string is literally anything that has any character that is a message. It's not a number and it's not something that is a fraction. That is a string. So it could be whatever you put. Even in Arabic, all the letters could be split into strings. Okay, any more questions? Nice, I see you working. If you want, there is still cookies and coffee. Caffeinate yourself. Everything in IT needs coffee. Ah, you mean like this one? This function? If I want everything in lowercase, is lower. Yeah, you see that we have there my string dot is upper. If it didn't work, is lower. Huh. I remember it was like, all right, all right, all right. Very good highlight. So guys, do not forget that in Python you need this parenthesis thing, because when you do this, it will tell you like, hey, yeah, I'm computing that. But it's not actually giving you what you want. It's just telling you like, yeah, you know, this string does have a method that is called isOpper. And yeah, I'm applying it, you know, to the string. But that's not what you want. You want to know like, hey, okay, so give me the result. And then it's like, okay, it's false. There is a difference. When you do this, you're actually asking the computer, hey, computer, what are you doing? Instead of, hey, computer, give me the result. Okay. So everybody could run this? Everybody had fun? Good. Now, like I was saying, if you do this and you forget the parentheses, Python will tell you like, yeah, there is a method. Now, what is a method? As a matter of fact, what you just did was to explore something called inbuilt methods. So Python automatically, when it says like, oh, this is a string, nice. So you have a list of methods that you can do just by enable the dot after that thing. So let me actually show you. If I have my string just like you did, you put my string dot and then tap, not letting me, okay, shift tap. doesn't also. Which one was it? Yeah, shift tab. It should deploy things. Okay. Help. Usually. What do you mean? You mean if it has it's a character. It's going to take it as a character. Not everything is a character here, but it evaluates if it's in the list of letters that it can put up or down. So it has these kind of things. My string tab is it doesn't deploy. There you go. So this menu, how do you access this menu? This is actually the help menu. So I don't know why it was not working in the first dot, but if you do dot tap tap, usually it deploys all the methods that is attached to that. Everything that is right now in blue is one of the methods that you can use with this string. For example, you have is alpha, is title, is decimal, is printable, is lower. Okay, if I go down to is, okay, is space, is ASCII. So it's requiring me for me to put up to 3 characters to deploy the different options that it has. Okay. So likewise, for example, what this one did. So what does this one did? It goes the length, right? So it prints the length of the character, which is 12, which is nice. There is such a thing as saying like, hey, len my string, and it's the same. As a matter of fact, length is always there as an inbuilt function for Python. But you can go elegant and say like, okay, dash dash length, give me this one specific length. Okay? Yes. Yes, as a matter of fact, if you saw, you can write help and then my string. Not my string, length. Okay, there is this. Now, there is also widgets that you can add to this part here that will allow you to do that. Because everything that R can do, Python can do, in theory. It's a matter of style, as a matter of fact. Where does R... in 2017, 2016, there was a war between R and Python. Like, who is the best at the statistics? And then it's R. But then it's like, who rules the world now? So for deep learning and everything that you want, Python. However, then comes JavaScript and says like, no. Everything that you see internet is me. So it's like, what do you want to do with what is a different thing. Obviously, the jokes aside, it's like you will find the same things across different GUIs because R had beautiful ideas from the inception. Like the R Studio layout, I love it. Everybody loves it. You have your, over here, how the graph looks like and so on and so forth. Everybody loves the idea. Visual Studio Code got pretty much several ideas from across different platforms. And this is why it's also one of the top choices now to develop. But that's another history. Okay. So when you have doubts about what something is doing, you can use help. There is a plethora of different functions that you can actually explore, like max. You see, max, it will tell you what needs to be the argument, or let's say how it does fit from inside. And then it doesn't show you any example, but stuff like that can be accessed. Okay. So for that one, yes. Yes. what's the difference between using this len and this my string dot dash dot dash dash len? Yes, that's a very good one. So the difference is like I can apply len to any kind of different character that I can use in that moment. But all my strings, if I declare a string previously, I can use this method. It's attached to it. Python knows that it can use it with that one. But this one is more general. So that's the difference. Depends on the moment, because you can do also something like len ta 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 ta, and it will give you the len. But this ta 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 is not hard coded now. I didn't say like this is now my string. Okay, so this inbuilt function gives you that flexibility. Perfect. All right. So let's go back a little bit about talking about variables. So as you saw, I can write whatever I want in a variable. I can use x, y, z. So please, when you're writing a variable, make it clear what it's about. X, y, and z, for me, are Cartesian coordinates in a three-dimensional space. But if you do x, y, and z, just like character, then 3.14, and then turtle. So x, y, and z are not Cartesian in this context, right? But I do not have, like, in ancient times, when people were trying to maximize memory, you have to resort to very small name of the variables to save memory. Now we don't have that problem. So you can go and explain like, okay, let's do the naming of the variable as clear as possible. And this is the name of the master. Something like that is available. You don't have to constrain yourself, and trust me, do not rely on your memory. So make this clear as possible. Why? Because when you read it, it will read like an actual story and you will understand it in your language, right? And probably in the future you will actually say like, thank you, pass me, because now I understand what I was thinking about in that moment. And I can do, for example, value of pi. What was the last one? Yeah. Turtle. Value of pi. And then, I don't know, ninja, teenager. Okay, I can declare this, and it's very clear which one of them are actually being assigned to. What you should never do in Python, you should not start with dash like this, your name or something like that. That's a special thing and a special type in Python. Don't use it until you reach like advanced, right? Dash at the beginning, no, and no. Also, don't do something like name the master. So normal dashes, not underscore, dashes like that, they're not going to work. This is not going to be a good variable name. And of course, another not so good variable name, don't start like your variable with third variable I write. So if you start with a number, it's not going to work. Python will not recognize it as a good variable. As a matter of fact, it will recognize it like, hey, there is a number here, and then a sequence of characters. That doesn't make any sense for Python. So if you go and you do something like the fourth wall, that could be some name of the variable. But if you're going to use numbers in the names of the variable, make it meaningful. The whole plethora of things that I'm just telling you, please be clear with your variable names. Just like this, like, well, not like this, but you get the idea. The name of the master, then I put Roshi. I could put, I don't know, instead of that one, Bruce Leroy, something like that. But that's part of the idea. If you do something like the fourth wall, and then Deadpool, this can be an actual name of the variable that I can recall later. And it's a valid one. The other ones, like this one, not a good fit. Dash dash or dash, Deadpool. Don't do that. Right? Fine? Good. Do you want a break? Yes? Okay, let's have a break. And then we jump into the next part. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yes. There is different things. No. You're connecting. So here, ClassHub is a resource from IT. Okay. The KBL binder server that I put, one public and one with KAUST. The one in KAUST is running in IT resources, and the KBL public is running in Binder itself. Binder is a company or well, an association that it allows you to run this kind of, let's say, GitHub projects. It loads them into a cloud service, and it's free, but it's a very tiny resource. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is like locally speaking, like everybody has a different thing to run on, but this actually normalized that everybody can run the same thing, and I would have not to spend that much time fine tuning every machine to work. But okay, so now let's continue. Now we're going to start the actual part that I like the most. Why? Because now we're going to use Pandas and we're going to use Matplotlib. So for Python programming, there is something called libraries. So you start with import Pandas, and you hit enter. Nothing should happen, but what is Pandas? Pandas is a package of programs that somebody already actually compiled for you, makes them part of Python, and then now you can use all the power of it, right? Now, in this case, I want to know where I am. Okay, so I'm still here. I can see my SW Python folder. And in this case, I'm going to declare a variable called path to file equals, and then I'm going to do swc tab. It will autocomplete. It's aware where he is. And then data. And then gapminder, double tap. Let's start with Oceania. No. Yes. There you go. If you do tap, it will actually deploy the options that you have. All right. So Jupyter Notebook is actually very good at this. That one is one of the weaknesses of VS Code. As a matter of fact, it doesn't deploy this kind of menu. All right. One more time for you to see. It doesn't show you anything with ls. Nothing. Odd. That's very odd. Nothing really. Oh. You have the folders there. Okay, double click inside of one of the folders and open another Jupyter Notebook. Let's see if that works. So I'm going to, again, say this. I am looking to this kind of files. This is, I know that this is my color equals auto. So I know that this is a folder, this is a folder, this is a folder. So this here, I will put SW, then tab, it will autocomplete. Then I know that inside of that folder, there is a folder called data. And then I know that there are a lot of files there, but if I do double tap, nope. G tab is gapminder. And then GDP Oceania, if I put that, it will deploy something like this. And you see the color is changed This is a path. So I'm going to declare this path. Okay, enter. Now the variable is in the memory. Now, because I imported pandas, now I can go and say like pandas dot double tap, and everything will appear here in this menu. Is something that I can use from pandas, especially the blue ones. We already discussed that these are methods. So these are actual programs that you can use for your own benefit. In this case, I'm going to call something called read CSV. Okay? Pandas.read CSV. Now, this one, if I do help on that, if I do help, doesn't like it. Great. Well, it already telling me something. I need one, at least one argument, meaning that inside of this here, I need to put this file name or file buffer, which will be this path file. Okay? So, do you see this? The first thing that you have to find is the path to your file. Yes. You could not, it didn't deploy for you. That's what you mean. Okay. Sometimes it's a little bit about each computer is a little bit different, but yeah. So what I did actually didn't deploy until I go to Gapminder and I type O and tap. But here it is. I mean, sometimes it works just with underscore. It worked for me with another thing. The ls, you already see code data. Okay, if you do that, for example, SWC, you mean that you're this. Okay, so in that case, you just need to say like, okay, data Gapminder, and then GDP. Okay. Let's go for this one. Gapminder, GDP, Oceania. But I do not have that one, so I have to put this in order to deploy the whole menu for me. Python. Okay. So in your case, you just have to go data Gapminder GDP Oceania, declare like that, and that's your path. Then when you do this, it should deploy something like this. Everybody deploy this? No, what happened to you? Okay, so did you do an ls to see where you are? So in my case, I mean, in this level where I see all these files and I see that this one here is a folder. Okay, so go. Okay, what you have to do is cd into. Okay, so do an ls kbl binding server. Now what do you see? Eh? All right, bring your computer over here. Meanwhile, all of you, so you see this one here, right? Is a GDP per capita, blah, 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 all of this. Now, I want you to get also index call, and I want that this call be this. Okay, do that and tell me what happens. All right, for you, gentlemen, you have here to do an ls. Okay, so if you see that, then you do ls KBL Bandier Surf. And you see there. But I see that you restarted this because you don't have the actual data. Your data is not showing here. So if you click here, I can see that there is nothing here. So let's go inside and download it for you one more time. Bash get data, Python. Okay. All right. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
In the KVL, right?
Now, yes, you can actually start in the KVL. So for you, what happened is that you're already here in code. So your path must be equal. And if you put here this one, code, enter, you see? Then you can say, you have, if you tap again, it will deploy all the things that you have here. But then we're not interested in that one, we're interested in data. And in data, you have all the files there. Okay? Just with tap. Okay? So how does it look like now? Oh, you have it here. Here it is.
Okay. Now I do the path, right?
Yeah. Now you can get the path, yes. Because give me a second. I will show you this. ls KVL, then SW Python. There it is. Okay. So if you run this, not showing for me. But what do you see? What's the change? Yes, the same thing, but now the country is here, highlighted in black. So what you're telling now to the computer is like, using the Pandas library, read that CSV file from this path, and I want the column called country to be the index. Why is that important? Because this is something called in R, data frame, isn't it? So a data frame, think it about as a big table that you can store any value that you want. It could be a string of letters, it could be floating point, it could be whatever. This is an actual cool concept that was introduced by data scientists. And the most powerful application of that one was in R first. And these data frames can contain anything that you want. Sometimes it actually contains blank data. But if you have an index and you have a column, then you can just pick out what you want from that data frame. Now, if you can see here, we are just calling always pandas.read CSV. Yes. Okay, so in Python, the actual philosophy is like you don't hit anything from the developer. There is no hidden gems, but you can make shortcuts. Meaning that if you do something like this, and because you are all data scientists, you will always do import pandas as PD, import numpy as MP, and so on and so forth. So in this case, when you do that, you can access Pandas very quickly. You see? Now, instead of writing Pandas completely, you can just do pd dot and the method you want. And we can basically copy this thing. And now assign it to a variable. Let's call it GDP Oceania. And now you have these stored in a variable that you can always call. Okay? There are shortcuts for everything in Python. So in this way, you have a data frame now inside of a variable that is going to store in your memory forever and ever. And now you can play with it. Like, for example, in this case, data frames have many things already attached to them. We can do something quite funny, which is translate that. So now you can see that it transposed that into having all these columns into indexes now. Moreover, you want to explore a very big data frame? Just dot capital T. Okay? Now this one is going to be very, very good. If you have a very big data frame, you can use dot head to check the first part. And like one of your colleagues already got, you can concatenate different methods. Like I am transposing the data frame and I'm just looking at the first 5. And I can do the same until tail. Give me the last 5. Okay? This can be very useful when you have like a super long data frame with 1 million different sequences or 1 million different stuff. You just want to know what's the first things. If the format is correct, this is a way. Even more, what I like it, which was actually in this part of, if you do info, it will give you a description of the type of data you have inside of that data frame. Something that is even better is the scribe. Now, the scribe literally does automatic statistics on your data frame. So for every column that is actual a number, you can get these accounts: the mean, the standard deviation, the maximum value, the minimum value, first quartile, half quartile, third quartile. So it's just like that. You don't have to write too many codes, right? This is already super quick. Yes. Okay, so how do I get this? That's a very good question. We are dealing here with CSV files, comma-separated files, or what is commonly known as tabular data. So if you have comma-separated files, that's one. You can have tab-separating files, that's the other one. Even if you have a regular space between the columns, that's a tabular data. Pandas can read it. R can read it. So you only have to actually give the separator. pd.read CSV. This sep command there, if I set it to tab, it will try to separate the file by tab. Or it can be any pattern. If I know that the pattern is something like 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, it can separate them and arrange them in columns and rows. That's tabular data. So as long as you have tabular data, you can play around with it and read it. Okay. So far so good? Nice. Is there any limit to the dimensions of the data? No. Yes. As a matter of fact, you're limited by the memory, but that's where Python actually excels. Why is Python overtaking R? Because the memory in R, the management is not that great. But in Python, you have several other packages that can do wonders with memory. Even if you run out of memory, there is a package called Dask, which is basically Pandas, but for large memory usage. It's the same syntax. Whatever I'm writing here, you can directly apply it to Dask. So you just have to learn this one and apply the other one. Any number of rows, any number of columns. It's a tabular data as big as you want, but depending on how memory you have. So once you reach some kind of limit, then is when it says stop. There is another competitor of Pandas that is called Polars, but that's not the topic now, but that's another option that is actually better at managing in your computer the memory. Yeah. You mean read from Excel? Yes. I mean, the thing is like, data science is kind of new. Excel isn't. Excel has been around for too long, actually way too long. So every package that actually wants to be a part of the data science tools has to read Excel sheets. It's a matter of taste. Like I had to read some Excel files. I hate Excel, so I don't like it. If I have a tabular data in CSV files, it's better for me, but it depends. There are people that actually writing coding in Fortran, and the input that they take is variable slices, so it depends. If you're going, the point that you have to take care about is like, am I working faster using Excel or not? If you're working faster using Excel, go for Excel. Okay? All right. So I'm going to actually ask you to do something. Yeah, so I'm going to ask you for something. Now, for this task, please read the GDP for Americas. Try to do the same analysis with describe, info, transpose. Try to get the same amount of code with just the GDP Americas, not the Oceania one. I mean, you can save it as another variable, GDP of Americas instead of GDP of Oceania. Yes. Okay, what I want you to do is to now use path to Americas equals, in my case, is SWC, SW, Python, data. Okay. And I want this one. Okay. Read this file using Pandas. You can even assign the thing GDP Americas equals PD dot read CSV. Okay. Path to Americas. And then index column is the important one. It has to be country. learn to type. Yes, otherwise, if you don't specify this index, it will go and put in front of these two names 0 and 1. So yeah, if you leave it like that, we can do it actually to demo. Let's get this done. GDP Americas. GDP. So it has a 0, 1, blah, 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 all the rows. Okay. Meanwhile, if you do this, you have your country as an index. Okay. Now get describe, get info out of it. Okay. So what you should notice is that there is a column here called continent. As a matter of fact, if we do put columns here, dot columns, it should put all the columns here. We can put this into to list, if I recall correctly. Maybe he doesn't like it. Ah, there you go. So this is then the columns you have when you don't transpose the data. Continent is not going to be taken into account in the scribe because it's a bunch of characters. So there is no way it can do, statistics in that, right? Okay. So everybody got to that part when everybody has the scribe and info? Good. So now GDP, if you want to see the index, you can do, I think it's index. Yes. Without the parentheses. I like to attach always to list method so I get it cleaner. And you have all these beautiful countries that are always hit by hurricanes. Okay. Now, what if I don't want all of them, right? What if I don't care about Argentina because I don't like the way they play football? Or what if I want just, I don't know, Peru because I like how high they are? So in this case, we're going to use pretty much like slices. We can do something called location. There are two methods, one called iLoc and the other one is called loc, just loc. So in this case, loc, you have to give a row, and a column. In this case, for example, if we do this one, Peru. So it will give me continent, Americas, obviously, and then all the GDPs that it has recorded, right? This is everything in Peru. Yes, I know. In arrays is different. Turns out people is not as clever sometimes. They don't attach to some kind of method. So here, if you put comma, then it will go for row and column. So here I have the value specifically for Peru in 1952. Okay, this is important. This is actually why we use index call. So loc can be used with these names. Like, for example, if I want something from United States, same year. I have to run this in another one. My Python is not so good looking today. Now I just computed this after a while for some reason. There you go. Now, just like I told you with strings, the same can be applied here. You see that these are square brackets. So in this case, we actually can use again the 2 points to get a range of things. Okay? So in this case, it's just United States, but let's not talk about Trump right now. But let's go and say like from Nicaragua. Okay, now I have the list of things from Nicaragua to United States in my data frame. Okay, it's a chunk of data now. It's a subset. I want to do a bigger subset of that. Perfect. I just put comma. I have to get this. Now let's put comma. And let's go for GDP in 1952. Okay. It will take a time, apparently. But yeah, if you were able to do this, let me know. You did. Okay. You can slice. Now you have, in theory, only these countries and only this column. So now you have a subset. So the same applies. Like, let's say I don't want the whole thing from Nicaragua to the United States. Now I want GDP per capita into, I don't know, 10 years later, about 52. There is no 62. Okay, there is 62. 10 years later, only a span of 10 years between one and the other. Let's put this into quotes. There you go. Aha. Now you have a very nice subset, right? So were you able to get this? You have a chunk of data. Nice. So now assign it to a variable. Like you can just put this into the memory. Okay, now you have a chunk of data that is going 10 years, a span of 10 years apparently, and for a couple of different countries. It's still a data frame. As a matter of fact, check it out. If you want to know what type is this variable now, type, parentheses, this thing. Okay? You all get that? Excellent. Nice. Yes. Okay. So that one will be a little bit difficult, but I think that if you want to do that, you can do it like this. But I do not recall really. It is like this, yes. Like you have to input these three here. Yeah, it's always a square brackets. Like this, and this. Let's say U. Yep, there you go. Okay, completely separated. You put another square brackets inside of the square brackets in the row line, and then it will get you what you want. Okay, you can create any chunk of data. Yes, let me know. It's not defined. Okay, so probably you define GDP of Americas like here. Ugh. Come on, Mac. So I declare the variable. So GDP Americas equals PDB read, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you all get the idea how to chunk your data. Nice. I like that. So what else can we do? You can actually apply stuff. Like if we have this chunk of data, let's do GDP of Americas. Describe. Very quickly. Okay, GDP per capita. The mean in this year was this. So I will do mean value. Okay, like that. So what you can do is actually go and say like, okay, GDP of Americas, then log, and I want to know all the different countries that have something. I want everybody from this period of time. Okay. Something is missing. Is a double dot here. Yes. So this will say like, please give me all the values for all the countries, all the rows in this column. Okay. So I'm going to call it actually GDP 1952. I know I'm doing a lot of stuff, but bear with me a minute. So I can tell right now, like GDP higher than mean value, meaning that I'm going to do this operation. So what I did so far was to search for the mean value here using describe in the GDP of Americas. In 1952, it was 4,079, I don't know, dollars, probably. Okay? I'm storing that value here in mean value. Then I'm telling Python, hey, I want all the countries in this year, 1952. Okay? So far, all clear? Yes. Now, I'm going to check which one of those are actually higher than the mean value. And it takes forever in my machine. So what I want you to see now is that it gave me all the countries, okay? But now it has attached to it a true or false column. So that's called in computer science Boolean values. Is it true? Is it false? It's just evaluating who's true, who's false. Okay, this, what we are going to use it now is called a mask, a binary mask, or a Boolean mask. We're going to use this notation here and get only those countries that are true for it. How do I do that? If I take, again, GDPs of America, and I open the bracket, like that. Again, it's stuck for me for some reason. Okay. So if I open the square brackets, as you can see, the square brackets are your best friend so far. It will go and evaluate all the countries that I have where the GDP of 1952 is actually true. And it will get me back this small list of countries. At that moment, Venezuela was rich. Okay? So, very simple. You can use these kind of things. Again, what I did here was to create a mask, a binary mask. Python is quickly evaluating, hey, is this value bigger than the mean value that I have there? Yes, no, or false, true, false, true, false, true. Then I can use that to filter my data frame again. Like if I want to know which one of those actually matter from 52 to now, maybe I can use this. And then I open the square brackets next to my data frame name, and I get the result. Okay? So I can check that all of them are actually true, but then I have more data points. Now, I know this could be actually very boring because now it's like I have to read each of these lines, right? But what we can do is to plot it, right? With a graph, it will be better. So actually, nowadays, you guys have a method called plot. Very good question. So where is this coming from? So at the beginning of time, when the dinosaurs roamed, there were no software that actually plotted beautiful in Python. That's why I was actually migrating to R, because they had something called ggplot. But some people put the work on it, created something called matplotlib pyplot, which is a MATLAB version of how to do this in Python without paying. And now, without paying, you can do the same kind of graphs for Python, and this comes included in Pandas. So Pandas is calling behind the scene another program, but it's just letting you know, like, hey, you can plot it right away. If you need the answer now, here is the answer. Okay, fine. So we can check that in the x-axis we have the names, and then in the y-axis we have the GDP and how it changed. Now we can create another one of these plots very quickly. If you don't like the way it was plotted, you can transpose it. Doesn't like it. No numeric data to plot? What do you mean? Yes, it was like that. Okay. We will go into that one a second, because in theory, I should be able to transpose this. Yes. And then plot this one. Could be, yes. Could be continent, yes. Okay. Let's drop this one. Drop continent. So this one will take care of continent at some point. Give me a sec. Yeah, dot drop dash continent. Axis equals 1, maybe. There you go. Okay, I had to create the -t plot. There you go, better. Okay, so by the way, this is a very useful one. How to drop one column is like this: drop, then the name of that column. You just say axis equals 1. So it understands it's in the column. Okay, so this is slightly better because now I have a storyline, right? Like, for example, from 52 onwards, who is going up? United States and Canada. Curious, right? Meanwhile, people from Cuba were pretty much always the same, even though it's a small island. Then we have Venezuela, which was pretty stable too, slightly up. But from 52 to basically 2002, the only one that actually grew was Canada alongside with United States, right? That's pretty much the story there. So you can now do this very quickly with one line of code. Nice. Can you access what? Yes, we're going towards that. Now, this is kind of ugly, I know. So, yes, of course. So, it was very, very long, I know. So I have the mask here, then I drop the continent because your colleague was right, continent was causing problems. And this is still like in the memory. Now, what does that means is that in that moment, axis equals 1 is the columns. Like column, not row, column. Axis 1 is columns. Axis 0 is rows for pandas. By T is transpose. And basically is shifting the columns to rows and the rows to columns. And then it's plotting them. So this information is this information, but just transpose it. So it's the same plot. It contains the same information. However, it doesn't read the same, right? Like this one is like, yeah, well, Cuba has a very bad rap all these years, yes. But then here is clear. Like who's growing? Stable towards time. Okay, so next phase, like how to do this less ugly, right? Like I told you, like there is a thing called matplotlib. Okay, now inside of my matplotlib, there is a thing called pyplot. That's the important one. As PLT. So because I do not want to write this over and over and over, this is PLT. Okay. So if I go here, pyplot PLT, but it's like if I want to actually control the stuff, if I do here PLT dot y axis, y label, I can put country name. No, wait, time. Up. This is not y. This is GDP. Okay, there you go. This is GDP. If I add PLT dot x label, then that's time last year. Okay, and now I have GDP time over here. I can actually go even further than that. And if I recall correctly, it was PLT dot style. Yeah, it was something like style. Yeah, style. There you go. Dot use. This is going to like you. ggplot. Inside maybe it works. So this is the reason why I stopped using R, as a matter of fact. Yeah. 1 second. Now, You see, this is just one cell that you can modify once and again and again and again. And you can do it in a beautiful way now. And you have now a story to tell with a subset of your data frame. Okay? Again, sorry, it's not working for you? So did you import matplotlib like this? You're working on the... Everything is like this. Not working, really? What is it saying? Ah, it's just like with an asterisk. Or the normal white graph, not, you mean this one. So try this one. Yeah. Over there, any question? No? The ticks. As a matter of fact, if you go here in the lesson and you go to plotting, yeah, you can format it from the start, but if you go all the way here, a little bit up, this is the trick. So in this case, for this, as a matter of fact, we can check all these examples. They are actually using the GDP from Oceania. Now, where I use directly the GDP thingy, they are changing it to something called years. And then they are adding that to their data set, okay? And using then that to plot something like this. Okay, so it can be done, and it's very simple. Strings have a replace method. Okay? They add something to the data frame. And then they plot the same things, and this is the same trick I just actually show you. As a matter of fact, we can change the kind, just like they did here. There you go. Plot kind equals bar. Now I have nice bars here. Better, as a matter of fact. Right? Yes. Here it is. Like at the end, you put plot kind bar, but this is a chunk of data that you need. And then it should show something like this. So it's the same information, but we have played around with it. And now you can visualize it differently. All right? Yeah. Sorry. So to start, something that I really like that they implemented in PyPlot is like they installed ggplot style. So this is a very common thing in software development. They stole ideas from each other. Common practice, nobody's bothered about it. So now you have something that looks like ggplot. Then we are applying basically a filter on our dataset, dropping one of the columns that are making noise, as a matter of fact. We didn't need this. Transposing the information. And last but not least, changing the kind of bar that we have. Then we just add it, for example, here. This is the GDP to make it clear. And this is the time/year, 52, 59, blah, blah. Yes? So the question is, how do I select the information that I want from my data frame? That's correct. So everything, plotting is the last part. What you want to do is then to do a better subsetting. Just like a moment ago, I was asked, like, what happened if I just want a couple of decoupled countries? You put square brackets inside of the square bracket and you select, if you are very sure what you want to select, you select each of the different columns or each of the different rows that you want from your data frame. You create a subset you want, and then you jump all the way down to plotting. Your first plot could be this, unreadable. That's fine, it plots. Your second plot could be something like that. All right, now you have a story to tell. Now, your final can be like this. Okay, you can publish now. So like that. Yes? Is there a cheat sheet? A million of them. If you Google them, you will find so many that you will be having a headache in no time. Okay? So finally, let's go all the way here. And I'm going to ask you questions. Like, please, let's start with this one. Minima and maxima. All right? So what do we have here? We have exercises. So if you feel like it, please go along. Try to complete these exercises that are in the plotting. I will be here if you want to continue. If not, I think we ran out of time. Unless, I mean, I keep going. I still have to teach you about for loops and conditionals. But if you don't really like it, go ahead. We can stay 1 more hour. Depends on your stamina, as a matter of fact. We keep? No, that would take me another hour. That's the thing. So for this one, the next minutes, try to do this. And if not, I mean, it's already 12, so you can go. But in the meantime, I will put a break here for the guys in the streaming. Break. for introductions. Okay, I think we're back. Right. Okay, guys. So for those of you that came all the way to this part, now we can start with for loops. Especially for loops are something that everybody should know because they will produce something really, really quick for you and save you a lot of work, right? So far, we have now a history, we have gone over the data frames and so on and so forth. Now, for example, we have the GDP, Americas, and if I do columns, I have all these columns here. Now, I can copy paste the whole thing, but what if I want to just print them? This is where a for loop looks like. For element in GDP column, then I have to use these 2 points. This is a very big difference for so many people in other languages because other languages use like these curly brackets. Others do some kind of other indentation. Python is just asking you to put 2 points, then enter, and it will automatically indent the code. This space between these 2 things is called indent. All right? And now you're allowed to put any different thing that you want. And in this case, we're going to print element. And we're going to print element. Okay. So one more time. To make it clear, for element in the list of things that I have in gdp.columns, I will print the word element and then attach to it the variable element. So you see the change in color, right? I didn't ask, is anyone actually colorblind? Okay, everybody is normal. Good. Right. Restart. Now, really? Great. Live coding, everybody. And I'm back to the square one. Okay. There you go. So here I am doing all these things. Nice. Let me run very quickly all this stuff one more time. Go all the way down. Okay. So the last command was erased, but we have columns here. So for element in these columns, and I can see that these columns is a list of things. It's basically different things, right? 2 points, print, like I was saying, element, and then element. So this will print a word called element and then the variable element. So element, continent, element, GDP 52, 57, 62, and so on and so forth. I can do more things with that because, as you know now, yes. Element means exactly for each thing inside of this list, print that thing. In this case, I'm doing element, but I can do also element, a method. Let's say there is replace here. Maybe str. Start with script. Yeah. Replace. Yes, there is. And we're going with GDP per cap. Yes, all right. Per cap underscore. Okay. And of course, I have to tell it, like, replace it with nothing. Okay? So as you can see, with a for loop, is like for each element that I have in that list, it can print whatever I want, as many elements are contained in that list. Okay? I can see what's inside of that element by calling the variable element, which is in black here. And then I can even modify that thing on the fly if I wanted. All right? So this by hand could be excruciating, like going inside of the file and getting rid of this each time. I can just get this back from here. All right? So why don't you try to go over an element inside of GDP Americas by trying to call that column and access the actual value of, I don't know, 1952. Okay, I'll be more clear than that. I will go with you. So if we do something like for loop, for element in GDP Americas columns, okay, enter, I can start modifying the thing. Like, for example, GDP Americas, and then that element, and we can sum, let's say, sum everything. And this will be sum of values. Yep, it's going to be, in theory, if it works, it doesn't complain, but I didn't print it. So we can go here. Let's do something also similar. Max of values equals GDP this, but max. Okay. And now let's print. Let's do it beautiful. Let's call it the country element as a sum of some values. And you can complete it with whatever you want. As a matter of fact, we can go and add another print. And then max of max. And then we can add another print. Oop. Max values. There you go. Yes. There you go. Okay, you can start playing around with these things. And as you can see, you can put anything that you want with print, as long as it's kind of clear for you. Like, let's say, if I am just giving this to my boss, probably only 10 lines is enough. But it could be also troublesome if this is too verbose. Anyway, anyhow, see how, for example, the column that I'm calling continent there is still there. And it's just getting concatenated every time, and it's even taking into account. Even though it's not an actual value that you can sum or you can have a max. It's just getting printed. Okay? So everything comes to what you want to do. Okay, so far so good. Everybody could run a for loop. All right. Now let's do it even better. What if I want to just print something out of it? That is like, for example, Venezuela. Let's copy this guy. Here is when we are going to use something called conditionals. So in this case, the keyword that you're going to use is if. If element equals Venezuela. And 2 points. Do not forget the 2 points. And then you have to indent a little bit more to create this. So run it. What happens there? For me, it's not printing anything. For some reason, I have to run this again. So nothing happens. Now, if we check for America's columns, probably it's because we don't have anything, right, called Venezuela. But if I change this for that, it should print at least once. Okay? So just like your colleague was noticing, if there is something that you want to compare, it has to be inside of the list. If it's not inside of the list, it's actually working, but it's actually leaving you out of the loop. It doesn't print anything. Now, according to what you know, if there is an else. So in this context, what I want you to start getting is like you have a list for elements inside of that list. You can do any kind of activity that you want, any kind of modification. Then with if, you can compare that to whatever you want. These equals signs mean like it has to be the same. It cannot be different. And if you're very sure that you just want that specific one, you can use else just to print something like print not what I'm looking for, not here. Okay. Here, you see? It will tell you how many times it enters the loop, and then it's going to find it one time, and then goes again, and it's like not here, not here, not here. Could be used as a diagnosis tool if you're just going through some very long list, just to check if you have something inside of it. Now, another thing, you can do the same thing using methods. For example, dot element dot ends with. And let's say 1992. By the gods, it's always like this. So as you saw, we have methods like this, right? Element, for example, is a string. I can attach a thing there that is a method. And in this case, I have the method ends with. So I'm looking for something that ends with 92. I can even I can even say like, okay, I don't want 92, I just want 2. Okay? And it goes and it searches for 52, 62, 72, 92, so on and so forth, 2002. Okay? Now, the else part is just basically a diagnose if you have different options. Like if it's not this, it's that. You can also get the same result, probably just avoiding else. But in the case that you have different options to search with, you can attach elif. And elif is technically the same stuff. Aha. So in this case, I'm just adding and adding and adding. Now, these if, elif, and else are known as conditionals. In all the different programming languages, you have something similar. In Bash, it's called switch case. I think in C++ it's still called switch case. When you have different options that you have to go around, like option 1, did I find it? Option 2, did I find it? Option 3, did I find it? Or nothing else I found it. So in this case, it's the same idea. Like you can basically do any kind of comparison. And here I'm just saying like, if element ends with 2, it's actually true. This is evaluating if it's true, then print this. If element starts with A, also print this. Both of them are not exactly exclusive. If one actually works with the other, that's a different thing. And then if you didn't find anything, print this thing. Okay? So in this case, for example, that element starts with A will never enter because I don't have any column that starts with A. They all start with GDP. Now you start to getting the idea, right? How to combine these two things. Okay? So last but not least, let's go over different parts of this. Yes? Uh-huh. So you have a type problem, basically a type error. So you probably misstepped something over here, or you're using a different thing. The line 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This if. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. So let's play around with this a little bit more. Can I combine these two things together? Yes, actually, yes. Let's silence this, for example. When they have this hashtag in front of them, this is a silencing thing. This is a very usual trick for all the code. You do not erase your lines, you silence them so they don't get triggered. Now, if is very flexible because it lets you do things like and or. Okay? If you do this keyword, you're enabling to be evaluating if both things are true or each of the other is true. Like, you know this. If you put and, both things have to be true to actually enter here. So if we do the same thing of element starts with A, this part will be true, this one will be false. So what do we obtain at the end? Always not here. Okay, I have to copy it in somewhere. Right? So Python is in Python is very easy to evaluate if something is in the same and you have two different things that you want to be combined to be true. You just need and or. If you change this keyword for or, then it has to be true one time. Does it actually ends with 2? Yes. Does it has an A at the beginning? No. But anyway, it is either or, right? So in this way, you can combine the conditionals with a for loop to go very quickly about the content of your data. So in this case, we already were summing the GDP of Americas. We can put that part below this, and we can do the sum over this, right? Only one time when it completes these conditionals. All right? So far, clear or so? Okay, you were able to create if conditionals and for loops. Nice. Okay, one more time. So for you to get this a little bit clearer, I'm going to use a very good example. For animal, in square brackets, I'm going to create a list of items. I'm going to say unicorn. I'm going to say genie. Pegasus. And dragon. Okay. So I can print all the animals. If this thing allows me to print all the animals. Okay. So you can create your own custom list of things like this manually, like unicorn, genie, Pegasus, using the square brackets. As you can see, the square brackets in Python allows you to do a lot of things. Like, for example, this is just declaring in situ a list of things. If you want to save it in a variable, you can do it like this also, right? So for this, we can actually evaluate if len of animal equals, I don't know, 6? Nah, better yet. Bigger than 6. Bigger than 6. And then we print animal. Pegasus, oh my god. Like this, yeah. You can start playing around with all these values and do it basically super quick. When you have to quickly get something done, you can always resort to these kind of manual things / automatic things. So for and if are going to be your best friends for all tensor purposes that you need. Okay? Any questions so far? No. Good? Okay. So we can stop now. All right? Very good. So congratulations, you survived. As you can see, you're the last survivors. Thank you very much. And, go and eat because it's lunchtime. Okay. Thank you so far. I hope this will actually be useful for you if you take the machine learning course that is coming, the workshops that we offer. And this will come again next year. Also, my next workshop is the data science onboarding session for Ibex and Shaheen. So if you know somebody that needs to use the supercomputer, send it my way. It's going to be here again. They need to hear this because we have many newcomers asking how to use Shaheen or Ibex. I can explain them, right? In any case, don't let them be lost souls wondering why I cannot use Ibex. Send it my way. Okay, thank you very much. I hope it was useful. And see you in the next time or around the campus. All right.